What's up internet? In this video I want to discuss the differences between DOA6 player bases on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. So let's start with the PC. The PC has the least amount of players on it. Literally, I played with the same maybe 10-15 players over and over again. And as time goes on, these players are actually dropping off. Which is a shame because DOA6 performs the best on the PC. And I love to play lobby matches, but there's rarely any lobbies on the PC most of the time. You have to get on a very specific time to get any lobbies at all. Or you can create your own lobbies, but you're gonna be waiting for a while. And in rank, there are players, but I don't know what's going on. From my experience, I always get matched up with overseas 1 bar or 2 bar players. And this makes sense. I think the majority of DOA6 player base on PC are overseas players. And I live on the west coast in the US, so it doesn't really help me. I love playing DOA6 on PC just because of the performance, but let me tell you, it's a ghost town in there if you live in the US. In terms of skill levels, I think everyone on PC knows how to play the game. You rarely see any new players on PC. The players on PC have been playing on there for a while, so they know what they're doing. However, because the player base is so low, if you only play DOA6 on PC, you're not exposed to different play styles, so when you see somebody who's really good, you're gonna have a hard time adjusting. They're just playing the same few players over and over again. In terms of connections, most players on PCs are wired, which is awesome. You rarely see any wireless players. But then again, this doesn't really help me since I live in the US, and there's rarely any US players on there, at least not during the hours that I'm on anyways. I think in terms of friendliness, I think the PC player base is the most friendly, and I think that's because most people playing on PCs, they're more mature, they're adults. You rarely see any kids on there. And it makes sense because having a PC that's capable of running DOA6 smoothly is an expensive piece of equipment. And also the other fact is there are so few players on there, so you're bound to run into the same players over and over again, and because of this, you tend to know each other more, so you're gonna have to be nice to each other. I also play the game on the Xbox Series X. The player count on Xbox is definitely bigger than the PC. However, almost if not all of the players play in rank. Literally nobody play in lobbies on Xbox. The only time when I ever get into any lobbies at all is if me and my friends get together and we have to plan it out to get on at the same time. Yeah, I would say over 90% of the players on Xbox play in rank. And I can always find matches in rank regardless of what time it is. And since Xbox is really more popular in the US than anywhere else, so the connections is always very good. I mostly get 5 or 4 bars most of the time. Now since Xbox is a console, so you're gonna get more wireless connections. But there's a good amount of wired players as well. If you're planning on playing DOA on Xbox, I'll just warn you this. The Xbox has the most toxic player base out of any platforms. And I think this is mostly due to the players playing only in rank. These guys care about their points and their winning streaks. They'll disconnect on you. They'll send you nasty messages. You name it. I don't know why, but the players on Xbox are the most angry players. But if you can deal with that, I would say that the Xbox version has the most solid connections between players if you live in the US. In terms of skill levels, I think the Xbox has the least amount of skilled players on there. Don't get me wrong, there are some good players on there, but you'll see them few and far between. And when you run into those players, those guys also play on other platforms as well. But for the guys who only play on Xbox, those guys aren't very good. And lastly, I play DOA6 on the PS5 as well. I feel that the PlayStation has the biggest player base of all of the platforms. And this makes sense just because the PlayStation brand is really popular, particularly among fighting game fans. There's a good mix of players in lobbies and in rank. The players in rank on PlayStation is just as bad as on the Xbox. There's a lot of disconnections, they care about their points, they care about their streaks. And similar to the PC, I get matched up with a lot of players overseas in rank for some reason. And in terms of the lobby player base, I think the PlayStation has the most players on there. There's always a few lobbies you choose from regardless of what time you get on. And on weekends, there's quite a few lobbies to choose from. With the PlayStation version of the game being the most popular and has the highest player count, there's gonna be the highest players who have wireless connections. Let me tell you, those Wi-Fi warriors are everywhere on PlayStation. Anytime when I find a wire 4-bar or 5-bar, it's like hallelujah. And this is gonna be weird for me to say, but I feel like PlayStation has the most skilled players out of all of the platforms. But at the same time, it'll also have the worst players out of all of the platforms as well. And this makes sense, right? Because the higher the player base is, you're gonna have a larger amount of good players, and you also get a larger number of bad players as well. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense because the PlayStation players are exposed to more players, so they are exposed to different fighting styles, so they have time and a chance to adjust and learn, right? Whereas players on PC or Xbox, they don't have that kind of luxury in terms of the player count. The other element on the PlayStation is that the performance of the PlayStation is so bad. In fact, the input lag on PlayStation is twice as much as on PC. So really, you're really playing a different game. There's a lot more playing on guessing and anticipation versus reacting. So we've talked about the PC, the Xbox, and the PlayStation. Now I want to talk about the players that actually play on all three platforms. So this is a no-brainer really. These guys are the best players of the best. They are the biggest of the biggest DOA fans, right? And I see these guys hop around from time to time when I hop around from time to time between all of the platforms. These players have the largest exposures in terms of player counts and play styles. These are the guys that just live and breathe DOA 24/7, right? But of course, not everybody can afford to game on PC, get a PlayStation, and also have an Xbox. But if you're somebody who can and have the extra money to spend on all three versions, I think this is the best way to play DOA6 honestly. You hop on PC, there's nobody on, okay, I'll just go on PlayStation. When you hop on PlayStation and you realize, you know what, there's just too many wireless players. Okay, then you go on Xbox. By having all three, you're gonna have somebody to play with at all hours of the day. But of course, not everybody can do this. If you're asking me, okay, if I can only choose one platform to play DOA6 on, what would it be? And I don't like saying this, but I'm gonna probably say on PlayStation. And I don't like saying this because the PlayStation of the game just performs so bad, there's just so much input lag. But the biggest thing for it is, it's got the players. And really the purpose of this video is talking about player base, right? I feel that a player base will make or break a fighting game, and the PlayStation version of the game just has the most players. I'm not sure about you, but playing the story mode or playing against the PC, you can only do that for so long. Eventually you're gonna want to test out your skills and play against other players. With that being said, I really wish that all of these PlayStation players move on to playing on PC. If only the PC version of the game has the player count on PlayStation, oh man, that would just be perfect. And those are my thoughts on the player base of DOA6 on the different platforms. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe for more, and take care now.